All right, everyone. It's a little early, but we're going to get this started anyway. How is everybody doing? How's my hair looking? Okay. I'm doing good. Just got off the phone, I don't know, 45 minutes ago with a woman who I've known for a long time. How long have we known each other? Probably 18 years, something like that almost. She is doing good. It's good to talk to her. I talk to her every once in a while. Had a nice, funny conversation. She's very funny. And we're going to be doing a little show and tell tonight to start the program. And I know you're wondering what that's going to be. And we got a nice show lined up. Got some questions to answer, some good questions, of course. And before it is all over, I will be going through this Friday's episode, giving you a preview of that. So it's 9 o'clock. Let's get this started. This is the Unfound Live Show that started, I think, in October of 2017. So it's about 3.5 years old. It's the Unfound Live Show for May 12th, 2021. It was a somewhat beautiful day. A little more clouds than we've had recently here, but it was still hot. Has not rained. I can't even remember the last time it rained here. It's been a while. And so I'm doing good. Working on Friday's episode. Got most of it done today. And as I was saying just a couple minutes ago, that people are still tuning in, being that we started here at 9 o'clock. I was on the phone for about a half hour with a woman I've known, very special person in my life. I talked to her maybe every couple weeks or something like that. We had a good conversation. She was cracking me up. And what else went on today was playing a little piano, which I'll be talking about here in a little bit. So everything is good with me. As you are watching tonight, might as well get this out of the way. Please remember to give the thumbs up. There we go. Give the thumbs up to this video as you are watching it live. And if you are catching the reruns sometime, at some point, whether tomorrow or in the year 2057, please give this video a thumbs up. That helps us with the YouTube algorithms. I wish I could be very exact on how you're supposed to do that, but I think it varies from device to device. Let's see who got in here first. Linda was first. She's also a member of the think tank. Hello, Spicy. Hello, Karen. And remember, Karen, it's just Unfound. It's not unfounded with an ED on the end. Hello, Delane and Joyce. Louise from the UK. Kathy, good to see you from California. Charlotte. CR. Jasmine. Screaming. And who else do we have here? Fishing. Susan. Hello, Cherie. Thank you for moderating tonight, Cherie. I know you've been busy. Hello, Anne. And D. There's D. What's going on, D? What is going on? Good to see you. So, where do I want to start today? Tonight's live show. I think I'm going to start it right here. Some of you have already seen the picture, but I'm going to show it to you right now. This was the T sign that was at the women's event this weekend at Taylor Lake in Largo, Florida. And this is, you can maybe see the dirt that's still on the bottom of it. This is the T sign as a sponsor of the program. Sponsoring, I think it was basket number 13. Lucky number 13. Actually, it's one of the easiest baskets on the course, so I guess it makes sense that Unfound sponsored that one the way I play. But so this was what they printed up. You can see that it says, "Thank you for supporting the Florida Hummingbird," which is the name of this tournament that is only for women. I got there at about 6:30 in the morning, which, as all of you know, is very, 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 very early for me. And I did some spotting on basket number 11. It's a basket that sits very close to the water. And so I would sit down there, and if there were any discs that went in the water, I would try to get them out with a pole, that a couple different poles that I had. I would not go in the water, and I just sat under this tree in the shade, had some water, and I did that. What time did we tee off at? Like 9:15, and then there was an till like 1:15. There was an hour-long break, and then they played from like 2:30 to 6:30. So I was sitting under this tree over there at the park, watching these women throw to this basket and fishing discs out of the water. There weren't too many. From like 9:15 until 9:15 in the morning until 6:30 in the evening. That's what I did this past Saturday, and it was a good time. A lot of my friends were playing. And a woman who was my former doubles partner going back to 2018. She was a tournament director. A couple good friends of mine were assistant tournament directors. Got to see some people I hadn't seen in a while. It was good to see them. So I'm glad I chose to do it. I once again, I did have to get up early. It's like 6 in the morning, which is so weird for me. But I made it over there, helped set everything up, helped take things down, and it was for a good cause. So once again, this is the T sign that I got as a souvenir for sponsoring the tournament right there. So there you go. There's that. Thank you, Cherie. You're asking, Luis says, "I'm going to listen to the show as I'm in bed. It's 2 a.m. in the UK. I will be listening. I haven't left." Okay. Cherie says, "Combining your three loves, huh? Women, disc golf, and Unfound." Look at you, Cherie, making the jokes tonight. Coming hard with those jokes, Cherie. I'm laughing. Yeah. Predictive text. Okay. That was a predictive text. Okay, Karen, just wondering. Hello, Twinkle. Good to see you. And once again, remind everybody that to give this video a thumbs up as you are watching. That helps us with the YouTube algorithms. As I posted on Monday, I guess it would have been, I went and got the first Moderna vaccine shot on Monday. I kind of just walked in. They were doing them at my local grocery store, which is Publix here in Florida. And people had appointments. I think I maybe had to wait 20 minutes to get that done. And then you just, hit you in the top of the arm. It was on my right arm. And then I'll have to go back the beginning of June for the second one. And what was funny is I was telling this friend of mine this evening, like an hour ago when we were talking, I told her how I got this vaccine, and she's very afraid of it for, she's had some health issues over her life. I'm not going to tell you who she is or anything, but she was like, "Hey, you're going to be growing like a third eye or something like that." She's very, she was like, "You shouldn't have done that. You shouldn't have done that." And there is that thinking out there. I just took a look at everything that was going on and the people who have gotten it, the people who haven't gotten it. Both of my brothers and my sister got it a few months ago. And I just said, I'm going to go do it. So went and got it done on Monday morning, at least the first half. And then, as most of you, I think, know, then for most of these, except I think the Johnson & Johnson one, but the Moderna one and the Pfizer one, you have to get a second shot. And so We'll see what happens after the second. I think it's after the second time where a lot of people have kind of felt a little ill for a day or something. Whereas my brothers and my sister, who are 20 years older than I am, got the second one. And I don't think they felt it at all. So we'll just have to see. Like I said, I think that a lot of this is very genetic. So we'll just have to see. And of course, I'll let you know when I get the second shot and if I had any ill effects. Dee says, Ed, I was told my lupus doc by my lupus doctor to go get it. What's funny you mentioned that, Dee, because this friend of mine that I was talking to, she also has lupus. And so she is not going to be getting it for, I think, those reasons. So she can do that. Yeah, D says, so no one in my family can get it. Yeah, no, I guess it's not perfect. No medication or anything is going to be. But like I said, I know there are a lot of people who has to say it hasn't been tested yet. Does it really work? And two people of certain, if you're young, you don't have to get it, on and on and on. And I looked at what everybody was doing and read up on it. And I just made the decision. I'm going to go ahead and go get it. Maybe if some other epidemic or plague or pandemic or whatever comes along, maybe I won't get the next one. I don't know. But it just seemed right to do it under the circumstances. So it was no big deal. As I joked on Facebook, I said, I'm just happy I didn't faint. I know that I get my blood tested once a year. And maybe every fourth time or something like that, I will tell you, I get a little woozy. I get a little nervous. Start not breathing correctly and everything. And I've never fainted, but there have been some times, both in Las Vegas and here, where I felt a little like this. And it mainly has to do with how smooth the person taking the blood is. If they're very, very smooth, no problem. But if the person, can't find the vein or they're new or whatever else, the more problems they have, the more problems I'm going to have. That's what I've found. So I'm always very thankful, and I do compliment them when they do it very quickly. And I tell them, man, that was a great job. I've gotten this done many times. You're very smooth. And then, other people, when they get it done, I'll be like, I think that they know they really pushed me to my limits by not being good at it. So, nothing happened on Monday. Just sat down, and getting a vaccine is a lot quicker than getting your blood tested. It takes several seconds to take enough blood out of you that they need for those little vials that they get. Whereas with the vaccine, it's just boink and it's done. Now, my arm was sore yesterday, but that's it. Twinkle says, a nurse told me that more men faint than women. Twinkle, that doesn't surprise me at all. I'm not going to defend my gender regarding that at all. You women are tough. No doubt about it. I totally get it. And we can be us men, we can be big babies. No doubt about it. So that I don't think that surprises me too much, Twinkle. And hey, I'm doing this on an international show. I'm telling you, all of you, that I can sometimes get a little woozy when giving blood. Delane says, well, that's not good news. I've had the vaccine, but also have an appointment with rheumatologist to do further testing for lupus. My PCP says I may possibly have it. Well, let's hope you don't, Delane. Let's hope you don't. Having said that, I've known several people in my life who've had lupus. Of course, there's different kinds and different severities and everything, but I've known several people who've had it and lived, they're still alive, having it for many, 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 many years. So hopefully you don't, though. Hopefully you don't. So that's my Moderna vaccine story. Next thing is another show and tell. Many of you do follow me on Facebook, and within the last couple weeks, I got electric piano, and I can't show you that because it's too big to move into this room. It's too heavy. It's too big, and everything else. But I will show you this. Where is it? I got this. Must have been a week ago. I think I got this a week ago on the live show last Wednesday. And this is a very entry level. I know it looks very nice, and it is very nice, but I don't want you to think this is the electric piano I got was very, very, very high end. No doubt. This, though, is very entry level. In fact, I got this, a cord, some picks, and an amplifier for like $300. So very, very entry level. But this is a low budget Fender guitar. It's called a Squire. I think you could see it up there. And so I've been picking away at this. Been playing a little bit, and the piano. I had to set the piano up in my kitchen. There's no other room. And then I play this over by the sliding window by the balcony that points west. So when I haven't been working on Unfound, I'll just kind of sit there and pick around, work on my scales, work on some chords and things. And I'm a much more accomplished piano player, so I can do a lot more on that piano and pick things up very quickly. Whereas with the guitar, I never even touched a guitar until I was about 40 years old, and I haven't touched one for a long time. So I'm kind of going back to basics with this and relearning it and everything. But I would say things are coming back fairly quickly from when I was playing like 10 years ago. So I'm very excited about this. The first electric guitar I've ever had. But like I said, very entry level compared to the electric piano. I got that, what is a Quai MP7 SE, whereas this is the Squire low budget brand name of Fender guitars. Not, there's Gibsons. I think most people know that there's either a Gibson or a Fender, and they kind of look different and everything. And this is what generally a Fender looks like. It's called a Stratocaster. So there you go. Just wanted to show that to you. I think some of you had asked about it last week because you knew I got it last Wednesday. And just didn't have it over here. I had left it over in the other room. So there you go. That's that. Put it right there on the bed for now. So thank you, Charlotte. Thank you. Delane says I had no issues with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. That's that one. Johnson & Johnson's just one time. You only have to go once. D says, is there any records you would like, Ed? Well, I got plenty of music, D. Plenty of music. Really, I'm just working on my chords and scales on the guitar right now. That's where I am. Whereas on the piano, I can actually still play songs and pick things up, like I said, fairly quickly. The guitar, it's like going back to first grade. Fishing says sore fingers. Yeah. On those steel strings, metal strings, fishing. Yeah, you have to really build up the calluses for sure. For sure. So people are talking about the lanes. Twinkle says, hope you will play for us someday. I think I will, Twinkle, but we shall serve no wine. Serve no wine before it's time to go back to those Giulio Gallo days. Louise says, why don't you go for lessons to a professional just to break you into you again? I don't think I'm going to have to do that, Louise. I'll be honest. I probably spent more money than I should have already. So, I'm not going to be a professional. I have another thing, I have another, enough things that I do in my life. Of course, Unfound is always number one, but disc golf and trivia and working out and all these things that I managed to incorporate into my life. There's just no time to go for lessons. There's enough lessons, people on YouTube and that I kind of can learn things from for free. And I think that's the way I'm going to go. Luis says we have the Oxford and the Pfizer vaccine in the UK. Yeah, those are popular ones. Delane says, regarding the vaccine, I was kind of on the fence because I have other autoimmune diseases. That's why I chose the Johnson & Johnson. Louise says, could be an Iron Maiden if they need a stand-in. Well, if they're still around, like if I start practicing now, Louise, maybe 20 years from now, I could join them. The problem is they'd be in their 90s by then or something. But thank you for the thought. I may be able to pick out some things from them. I'm really going to have to get better at the guitar before I do that. Whereas with the keyboards, with enough work, enough listening to it, I can probably pick out anything there is out there. But guitar, it's way tougher for me. Delane says there are so many YouTube tutorials. That is true. Hey, Eileen. Come on, Eileen. You can get here on time. How are you doing? Yeah. Refilled. Yeah. Okay. So that was the guitar. I already talked about the piano. I will tell you one song that this might interest some of you. A tune that I'm working on to start on the piano, electric piano, keyboard, whatever you want to call it. It has so many different settings and sounds and everything. It's just crazy. Right now, I want to learn the song I'll Wait by Van Halen off their 1984 album, which was the last album with David Lee Roth before Sammy Hagar came in. That of course, came out in 1984, and it is really strong. That was when Van Halen started incorporating more keyboards into their music, and a lot of purists were like, what are you doing? Of course, Jump had the very famous keyboard solo in it, which I can play. So I'll Wait is a great song for keyboards throughout it has a solo and it's fairly difficult and it's a really good tune and everything. So that's one of the first ones that I am working on the keyboard. And there's also a couple songs by Deep Purple, etc. But right now, I'll Wait is number one. Other things going on. I've told you I was going to buy a new car or a used car. It's kind of on the back burner right now. Kind of got excited about it. Was going to do it. And then just kind of, lost interest in it a little bit. I started looking at the car that I have, and it's so low maintenance and everything. And it's like, do I really want to get another car when this one is no problem? So it's a little bit on the back burner right now, just to be honest. I was hot for it for about a month, but now I'm glad I didn't do anything. It's one of those things. Good thing I hesitated and really thought about it and everything. I'm glad I didn't make a rash decision, but I still might end up getting something else, selling my car, getting something else before the year's over. We'll just have to see. Other things going on with me personally. Joyce says, Keith Urban offers free guitar lessons. Well, the only problem is, Joyce, is that he's a country singer. So I'm not going to have anything to do with him. But I appreciate that. There are a lot of, tutorials online for sure, Joyce, on YouTube. Eileen says, now you have to tell us what car you were going to think I'm done. No, I don't, Eileen. No, I don't. Not going to do that. Not going to do it. But still thinking about it, but it's definitely on the back burner. Next, I continue to work on my diet. I woke up at 180.4 pounds, kind of leveled off a little bit. I'm still not eating any sugars and carbs, but it's gotten a little slower, but you can see the trend because I'm charting it in a spreadsheet. You can see it going down because I'll get up one day, it'll be 180.4, and then the next day it'll be 81.5, and then the next day it'll be 180.2, and then, it kind of going around a little bit, but the trend is certainly down. But I've not gotten up in the morning and yet been in the 170s. Not yet. Very close. I'm within like a half a pound. So I'm working at it. It's still going very well. I'm not doing any cheating or anything. Still no sugar, still no carbs, or very little carbs. And feeling great. Linda's asking me, what is your weight goal? I got to be honest, Linda, I haven't really picked out a number. It's when I look in the mirror, I'll know what that number is. That's how I'm doing this. I'm just keeping track of my weight to make sure that I'm going in the right direction. And once we get into the 170s, I think that I'll have a better idea of where I need to stop. All I know is the place to stop is not where I am right at this second. That's the best answer I can give you. Twinkle, I'm proud to say that I weigh 107 pounds, up from 98. Oh my gosh. You're so tiny, Twinkle. 98 pounds. Wow. Okay, Twinkle. I'll have you know that my biological mother was like that weight, Twinkle. Of course, my biological mother was only like 4'9", 4'10", something like that. And I think the only time that she was ever over 100 pounds was when she was pregnant. So she was tiny. She was really, really tiny up until the day she died. So 98 pounds. Wow, Twinkle. Not up to 107. Okay. And of course, we cannot forget this past Sunday was Mother's Day. We got mostly women in here, as usual. And I hope all of you had a great time. I hope you were treated to a very nice day. And I hope a lot of people went out of their way for you, whatever you're into, whether it's flowers or dinner or, just gathering around and spending some quality time, whatever you like to do. Whatever people do for you, I hope that you had a great day this past Sunday. Of course, my mother's not with us anymore, but I take great pride in that I never missed a Mother's Day after I left Pennsylvania in 1998. I never missed Mother's Day, and I never missed my mother's birthday, which was October 25th. She always got flowers, always got a card. So that would have been like 98, 99, 2000, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. Like 18, 19, 20 years that I never missed those dates. So I take great pride in that. So I hope you all had a great day. Twinkle says, I'm 5'4", 98 pounds. Wow. Yeah, I see what you're saying there, Twinkle. Delane says, I haven't seen 90 plus pounds since my senior year of high school. Okay. Delane, well, I haven't seen a double-digit pounds since I was probably in, I don't know, third grade or something. Lee says, I got to go to the races and sit in the pits. I can see you doing that, D. I love it. I think you were telling me about dirt track racing. I remember you sending me that message a few days ago about dirt track racing. Got to sit in the pits. I bet it was loud. Karen says, my birthday is 20 October 25th, like your mother's. Wow, Karen. That's pretty cool. October 25th is what? Is that Scorpio? I'm not really an astrology person. I know I'm a Leo. October 25th, Scorpio? I think it's a Scorpio. I know the only other one, I know Virgo is later in August. And then I know Pisces is like the end of February, the beginning of March. I don't know why I knew that. But yes, Scorpio. I was right. Okay. There we go. I'm reminded of that Beastie Boys song. I'm a Scorpio. Don't ask me because I just don't know. Yeah. Okay, good. I don't know why I knew that. Okay. So those are some things going on with me. Twinkle says, you and I are Leo. Leos are the best, Twinkle. Leos are the best. And I take great pride, and I'm totally a Leo. But no disc golf tournaments this weekend. I don't play. I have a 1-round tournament next Saturday down in Sarasota. And then after that, the next weekend, I have a round Saturday, around Sunday. Not a lot going. Then I have a tournament the first weekend of June. But after that, I don't know. I might not play in another tournament until August. We'll just have to see. You know, during the summer, because it's so dang hot, they don't schedule a lot of tournaments in Florida. So we'll just have to see. So I only have a couple more times to get some tournament play in before the summer hits. And I hope I play well. Better than I did that couple last rounds of the last tournament. Charlotte says, I'm a Leo too. We do rock, Twinkle. Linda says, I'm a Leo as well. We are the best. Twinkle says, Leo women are a handful. You know, I got to tell you, I think I've said this before. It is very strange how many Leo women I have had as girlfriends. It's an unusual percentage. You'd think, I mean, you know, if it was just random, you know, you'd think you'd have, a partner, a girlfriend, boyfriend in every one of them. If you'd have 12 different boyfriends or girlfriends, you'd think the odds would be that you're in each one of them, all 12 astrology signs. And I can tell you that, you know, it's really weird. And I don't even know what their birthdays are when I meet them, but it's amazing how many have been Leos. In fact, I dated a woman in Las Vegas. This must have been 10 years ago or something, 11 years ago. She was born the day before. I was born August 1st, 1970. She was born July 31st, 1970. And then I had a girlfriend whose birthday was August 4th. Girlfriend was August 7th. Girlfriend August 11th. It's really weird. I don't know. I don't know what that is. D says my 2 boys are Leos. Charlotte says I dated someone who had the same birthday as mine for about 5 years, only I was older than him. That'd be weird, Charlotte. Good friend of mine who I disc golf with, his name is Kevin. He is exactly 10 years younger than I am. He was born on August 1st, 1980. And Screaming says, and I had a friend of mine in Las Vegas. His name was George. He was born on August 2nd, 1970. So the day after I was born. Screaming says, we have a lot of law enforcement officers. That's funny. Screaming made a joke. Leo, that's funny. Charlotte says, my son and middle daughter. So we've gone all astrology here tonight, even though I don't necessarily believe in it, but I can't deny what I know about some of the things in my life. I can't deny that, whatever those qualities that a Leo is supposed to have, independent, those types of things, king of the jungle or whatever. I definitely have a lot of those qualities. And then on top of that, like I said, it just seems an unusual amount of women who I've met and dated for a while, girlfriends, have been Leos. All right, let's move on to, so all the personal stuff is out there. All right, let's move on to this. I got 3 questions, and I know she's in here from Charlotte. And so I'm going to answer all of them, not all at one time, but I'm going to take one, and then we'll come back to the other 2 later in the program. Charlotte's first question was, lately, there have been numerous people found deceased in their cars, in ponds or lakes after many years or months of being missing. Yeah. Adventures with a purpose. Do you think that some of the cases that you have covered on Unfound could have the same ending as those? Well, we did already have one, Charlotte, and that was Esther Westenbarger, who was missing for over 10 years. And Little did anybody know she was in this pond that people were driving by all the time, and it was just a matter of luck that her remains were found last year. Total luck. And it turns out that there was no foul play in her disappearance. It seems that she might have fallen asleep at the wheel, maybe had drinking and driving. Maybe she had a heart attack. We'll never know. But she drove right into that pond in her Cadillac, and she was eventually found. So we've already had one case like that, Charlotte. But as far as the other ones, first of all, you have to remember, Charlotte, that we've covered very few disappearances where cars went missing with a person. We've covered some where the person was missing and the car was maybe the person, the car were together, and then the car is found somewhere and the person hasn't been found, of course. But we haven't had too many where the person and the car are both missing. Eric Franks is one. Of course, he is still missing, but his car was found many years later. We all know that story now from last year. But I was looking, and it seems of the over 200 disappearances that we've covered, we only have 4 still outstanding where cars are also missing. They're Lola Catherine Fry, Jeff Joseph, Jansen Brewer, and Daniel Braden, and I believe Tammy Arthurs and Chad Peters. We only have 4. And in none of those do I think that those people went into the water somewhere, at least by accident. Lola Catherine Fry's is a very sketchy story. It's very early in Unfound's existence about these guys that were with her at this party, and she allegedly overdosed. And then the story gets really hazy after that, but her car and her were never found. Jeff Joseph, it's pretty clear that people that he was working with growing marijuana in California kind of turned on him and made him and his car disappear. I don't think there's much doubt there. Jansen Brewer and Daniel Braden, it seems to me that there's foul play in that one too. And in fact, I could believe that the vehicle that they were in, this truck that this guy Scotty owned, I could even believe that Scotty was the one that caused their disappearance. Tammy Arthurs, Chad Peters, they were talking about, being connected to a gang, Mexican drug cartel that allegedly stole everything that they own, and then they and their car go missing. I don't think they went into accidentally drove into the water somewhere by accident, by accident. So I guess the answer is no, Charlotte, but we just don't have a lot of disappearances to, go off of. We just don't. You have to remember, like Zoe Campos, she was missing and her car was missing for a while, and then it was tracked down. Ronald McNutt, he and his truck were missing, but after that forced fire, his truck was found. A body is in it. They still have not done DNA on the remains in there, so he and his car were missing, but they didn't end up in a body of water. So I'm going to say with some assuredness, Charlotte, that I do not believe that Unfound now has any disappearances on its slate where a person in their car went into a body of water by accident. So, but it does happen. I think that what's helping these days in finding these people, as I think there seems to be now a better understanding regarding this phenomenon, and people start looking at, I think there might have been a time 20 or 30 years ago that people would have never suspected that people could just run off the road and into a body of water and not be found. But I think that now people realize that. And I think that that's why more lakes and rivers are being searched. And it's what helps is that when these people went missing, people still remember, well, this person was going from point A to point B. And, are there any bodies of water near any of these roads? Or if the person took a wrong turn, And so you can like look at Google satellite maps and kind of start picking out the places that you want to search. And then people, of course, donate their time. There are a lot of people who love scuba diving, and they're using their skills for good. So I think this is going to continue. I don't think that there's any reason that this would stop. People, I think they're going to continue to find people in bodies of water, mainly by accident, in their vehicles. And in fact, I will even tell you that there's a disappearance that I've looked into. We've not covered it yet on Unfound, but one right here in Pinellas County, where I am fairly sure that this guy did accidentally drive into a body of water because he and his car are missing. I'm not sure what body of water in this county he went into. So, and maybe one of these days when I have the time, I'll be able to look into that a little bit more. So there's your answer. Charlotte, great question. And I will come back to your other couple questions a little later. D is saying, hey, also, I'm getting a 9mm gun. Look at you. Yeah, I went shooting yesterday. D shot my 9mm guns and my rifle. Loved it. I had not gone in a while, so it was good to get out. I'm glad you're getting one. Make sure you learn how to use it. Go take a course, D. Go to do some target shooting. Make sure you are safe with the use of that. Make sure that you know what you're doing before you fire any bullets, please. Hello, Marlene. There's Marlene. What's going on, Marlene? Good to see you. Ruth says, hi, Ed and everyone. Long time since I've been able to catch a live show. Well, it's good to see you, Ruth. Thanks for joining in. Thanks for making the time. All right, let's get into some of the items for tonight's show. As you know, I usually start here. The poll in the discussion group, the disappearance of Sandy Canipe. I think this one could go a couple different directions, but some of the members in the discussion group decided that it was a combo of Janet and John Doe. Those names are made up. Tom Smith's name is made up. But a large majority of you that took part in the poll in the discussion group decided that those three, or maybe just Tom by himself, is responsible for Sandy's disappearance. I think there's a lot of logical reasons to think that. The truck, them owing Sandy money, Tom's story, giving vague answers or contradictory answers, a lot of reasons to believe that. In the think tank, just over a majority of people agreed and said that they think that a combination of John, Jane, and Tom caused Sandy's disappearance, so they believed it was foul play. I have to admit that in writing at patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, if you'd like to become a member of the think tank and read the blogs and everything else we do there, I have to admit I made the decision that Sandy did walk off. Here was the way I decided it, is that Sandy had a lot going on. He was broke. And just earlier that day, he tried to buy beer and he couldn't and had to have a friend do that. He'd loaned money to some people who he thought he could trust, and they weren't paying him back. Friends that he thought were good friends, solid friends, and weren't paying him back. It just seemed to me that he was in a very dark place. And we know that, and he's drinking on top of it. He probably might have been an alcoholic. And we know that alcohol is a depressant. And I think all that put together is what put me on that track. There's no doubt that Tom had some shady answers and everything else. But like I said, there's just something about it that did not look to me like a murder. It's one of those things, why would Tom take Sandy's truck if Tom murdered Sandy? That's the surest way to get caught. So, And we have to remember that this gun is missing. It hasn't been found, and it's very possible that Sandy walked off with it and just hasn't been found. Went somewhere, unfortunately shot himself, and just hasn't been found yet. That's the decision I came to, but I think the facts could point us in a few different directions. D says, yeah, I was raised around guns all my life. All right, well, never hurts to take a refresher course, D. Be careful out there. Marlene says, good to see you, Ed. Had to get something to eat. Well, you're allowed to get something to eat, Marlene. I hope it was good. Twinkle says, I agree, Ed. I think he walked off. Things were going badly for him. Yeah, they were. Screaming says, I don't think Tom did it, but knows something. That's very possible. I think it's in Sandy's disappearance, it pays to be very open-minded about it. I thought, like I said, I came to the conclusion that he walked off, committed suicide, but I don't know how firm I am in that. Certainly, I've been firmer in a lot of other choices that I've made. That is not one of the firmer ones. Suzanne said, why didn't Tom just leave his truck? I don't know. He says that Sandy allowed him to borrow it. Sandy's not here to contradict that. So being that Sandy loaned him $1,000, I don't think it would be crazy then to Sandy say, yeah, take my truck too, especially if Sandy decided I'm not going to need it anyway, because I'm going to go off and walk off into the woods and not come back. Like I said, I'm open to the ideas. And these are a lot of these things that, it's, a little percentage here, a little percentage there, could go either way. Eileen says, I don't agree, but okay with being different. Well, good, Eileen. I'm glad you feel that way. Once again, if you are watching tonight, please give this video a thumbs up. If you're watching it in the replay, give this video a thumbs up, and it helps us once again with the YouTube algorithms. I don't even know how those things work, but that's what I've been told. So if you're watching, do that. Charlotte says, I think that one of the three or someone in their circle did something to Sandy. Charlotte, it's very possible. So that was the poll. And if you'd like to be a part of the think tank, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. And you have to make a contribution of $12 a month or above every month. So let's move on to this. Thank you for posting that, Cherie. The books. I said way back in January that the Unfound books, I needed to make them a priority this year. Way behind. And that's my fault. The issue is that when I started doing those books, I was not doing as much as I am now. There was no live show. There was no newsletter. There was no think tank. And there was no writing a 3,000-word blog every weekend for each disappearance. And I love doing all of those things. So the books are the thing that had to have, the books are the thing, unfortunately, that have gotten put, in the background. But I think, given a conversation I had this past Monday, that I'm going in the right direction. The big thing is that I'm going to have to get somebody else to do them. I want them done a certain way. There's a certain look that I want to have to them, the certain format that I want to have and that I need for them. Of course, the transcripts have to be in there, the pictures, the maps, my observations, the links, and all those things that are in all the first of the 7 books. And so, but I'm going to have to get somebody to do it. I just don't have the time. I suppose I could make the time, but I think that I would get burnt out very quickly. And that's not something that I want to happen. So I had a conversation with my former editor. She's a woman that I've known. We were laughing about it. I can't believe we've known each other about probably over, but about 10 years. seems like yesterday, and she was my editor for some fiction novels that I wrote. I mean, when we, I think, pretty sure, I've only met her once in person, and I think that was back in about 2016. But when we first met each other and I was looking for a book editor, I still lived in Las Vegas. That's how long ago it was. Well, she's a good person to talk to about books. She's in the book industry doing things. And so I got to talk to her, and I think we've come up with a little bit of a plan. We'll see. So I'm hoping this is going to, get things going in the right direction, because, she even asked me, well, how many books do you need to get done? And you aren't going to believe this. About 22. Because, each season of Unfound is about 6 books. And we're on our 2016, 2017. We're on our 5th year. And it's going to be the 5th anniversary this coming September. So we're way behind. I am way behind. And these books need to be done. And there's at least 6 disappearances per book. And each chapter, once again, needs the summary, the transcript, the pictures and maps, links, my observations, and everything that happened after Unfound's coverage. And I thank all of you who have done transcriptions for those books. Cannot thank you enough. But the issue was not your transcribing. Did a great job. Thank you. The issue was me putting that all together, proofreading it, make sure everything's correct, everything's professional, designing the covers myself and everything else, sending it all to Amazon, who Kindle Publishing that makes all the books and everything. It's crazy. It's crazy. So, going to have to pay somebody else to do it, but I think it's worth it because it's a glaring hole in Unfound's menu of things that we do. I think everything else is going fantastically. I love the website. I love the YouTube channel and all the videos that we post. These live shows are great. Patreon is going well. Unfound on the ground, the blogs, the think tank, everything, the interviews that I do with Dr. Telesco, all of these things are going, I think, pretty well. And the books are lagging way behind. And so I want to get it to a point where we at least get it up to the current year, Unfound year of starting in August of 2020, at least get the books done up until like August of 2020, all the episodes up to that point, at least. So, those conversations have begun. I think one way or the other, it's going to get done this year. Not going to be cheap, but it's just something that needs to be done. It's something that's important. So, you can look forward to all of that, but it's not going to get done tomorrow. This is given that there are so many that need to be done, and they need to be done in the right way. And a lot of things need to be designed, and a lot of transcripts still have to be done and everything else. I probably won't be, to the fall, no matter what choice I'm going to go with. Probably will not all, get up to close to current until probably the fall, which my goal is to get that done this year. So the fall is still in 2021. So it's just a lot of work, and it just got way behind. And I look forward to that day where we are close to caught up. And of course, that means there'll be a ton of books on Amazon and get all that stuff caught up as well. So there you go. So that's the topic of the books. I know some people have asked, some guests have asked, and it's just, I guess what I'm saying is if I put everything else to the side, I could get them done. And when I say everything else, I don't mean like disc golf, or I mean, playing a little guitar, playing piano. I mean, all of that in addition to this show, the newsletter, the blog. If I wanted to stop all that stuff to get them done, I could get them done. But I'm not willing to do that. So I'm going to have to pay somebody else to do it, which is fine by me. Linda says regarding Sandy Canipe, I agree, Charlotte. It's the dog that I see as an issue, leaving the dog behind. Okay, Linda. Delane, do you need volunteers to transcribe the books? The transcription people did a fantastic job, Delane. But I think what we're going to do here is we're going to put this in the hands of a professional that's going to be responsible for getting it done. Luckily, we kind of found a workaround for the last couple books that got done, with being that we post all of the episodes to YouTube, but YouTube automatically generates a transcript. And so I was able to, copy all that and send it to the transcribers. And all they have to do is format it and punctuate it and capitalize. And there'll probably be some words that don't make any sense. And because it's automatically generated. So we found the workaround there, but still, even that is a lot of work. It's less work than actually listening to the interview and typing every word out, but it's still work. So I'm just going to put it in the hands of somebody who can devote his or her total time to it. Not just doing the transcripts, but everything. And I'm just going to thank God it's done. But I appreciate it, Delane. Marlene says, McDonald's crispy chicken sandwich. Look at you. The new one, it's so good. I wish I could eat that, Marlene, but the bread part, can't do that. Charlotte agrees. Twinkle says, makes me tired just thinking about writing 22 books. Well, what I will have to do for my part of it, Twinkle, will be the observations part, which is really just a kind of a version of the blogs that I write on Patreon. But, we'll just see if, sometimes with the blogs on Patreon, I go off on some different tangents. Whereas with the books, if it's an observation, I'm just really going to strictly stick to that disappearance. So some of them I may be able to edit down some blogs I wrote on Patreon. Some of them I may have to write from scratch. I don't know yet. But this is how books get done. It's just, there's just no way around it. Somebody has to do the writing sometime. But 22 books, that's how far we behind. But also on the other hand, I start thinking, get the 22 books out there. They're on Amazon and elsewhere. You can sell them in a series. You can give some to the guests, give some away. A lot of different things can then be done that I'll be very excited about. It'll just be the cost before that I'm not so excited about, but that's my fault. That's not anybody else's fault. That's my fault, and that's just what the market says. Talking about fast food. Can't eat fast food these days anymore. Not anymore. Delane says, I'm obsessed with paper books. I listen to audiobooks, and I have a kind of full of books, but still having the real thing. A lot of people are still that way, Delane. Certainly true. Suzanne says you can only jungle. I think you mean juggle, but I like the idea of that. You can only jungle so much, Ed. That's true. I love that. You can only jungle so much. I know. Can only go into the jungle so many times, Suzanne. That's funny. Yeah, I can only juggle so much. That's true. At some point, the quality of things will start to lag and sag. And so I have to be very careful of that. Delane says, I have all the Unfound books so far. Well, it may be 6 months from now, Delane. You'll have about 22 more. R.A., thank you. What's going on? Good to see you tonight. And if you'd like, maybe I should remind everybody of this. Do not forget the Super Chat button. That is that little gray square with the $sign there. If you'd like to monetarily contribute to Unfound, you can do it there. As you know, Unfound is and always will be an ads-free program. There are no companies that sponsor the program. I'm not forced to read any script that some company sends me. I'm not forced to put ads right in the middle of interviews or anything else, and that's the way it's always going to be. So we rely on other ways to generate some money for the program. And of course, through Patreon, paypal.me/unfound podcast, selling of the books, etc. So if you'd like to contribute tonight while you are watching, it's the super chat button at the bottom. Ruth says, big news here is Barry Morphew's arrest. Yeah, I talked about that last week, Ruth, for sure. That is certainly big news. Charlotte says, I only read books in paper form. I love to read. I wish I had more time to read, Charlotte. Delane says, I'll need a new bookcase. Well, you can get one at like IKEA or something like that, Delane. So that is the book situation. I'm going to be working very hard to make sure that gets done this year. Let's move on to this. I spoke about the blog. Many of you who are Patreon supporters know that I write a blog every week. Although I did not write a blog for the Q&A episode from a few weeks ago. But, for all the disappearances that we cover, I write a blog. It's always at least 3,000 words at patreon.com/Unfound Podcast. And you only need to contribute $2 a month to read them. 50 cents a week. $6.66 cents a day. Can you afford it? But given that I talked to my former book editor a couple days ago, she was the one who gave me this great idea. It's something that it was, right there in front of my face, but I couldn't see it. And so I'm going to start offering audio versions of the blogs. So I will write it, and that will be posted. It will be posted on Patreon as usual. But after I write it, I will read it. I'll record it like I record the regular episodes. And then I will upload the audio to Patreon as well. You will need to be a Patreon member at least $2 a month to hear the audio version. I'm just going to read what I wrote. And I'm not going to do like several recordings. With the episodes, I will read a sentence over and over and over until I get it right. With these blogs, probably going to just read them. And if a couple mistakes here and there, I'm probably just going to have to live with it. But because to read 3,000 words, it takes a little while. But it'll be an MP3 version. It'll be on Patreon. Don't know if you'll be able to download it. I'll have to educate myself on that. So that will start this weekend with the blog that I will write for this Friday's episode. And when I have time, I will go back and read those blogs going way back to 2017 and record those. And if you haven't read those yet, if you're a Patreon member and you haven't gone back to the beginning in 2017 when I started writing those blogs, you don't have to worry about that now. You can just listen to them instead of, I don't know how long it takes to silently read 3,000 words, but I guess within a few minutes of me reading the blog, you get it done in a few minutes, I guess. That is a new feature we will, or I will be adding to the blogs that I already write. So not only will start this week and reading the new one, but there's going to be a lot more entries on Patreon as I kind of go back and start reading those at when I have the time. Kind of like what I've done going back to old episodes of Unfound and doing maps and videos for old episodes that probably needed some video map work done that I didn't do at the time. I've gone back and done that. I will be doing that with these blogs as well, going back and reading all of those. So once again, if you're a Patreon member, patreon.com/Unfound Podcast, you can be looking for the new audio version of the blogs. Let's see what some of you are saying now. I have so many books, some true crime. Charlotte says, I also read Danielle Steele. Ruth, holding a book and reading is so much better to me. Started listening. I've listened to a couple audiobooks recently in the car. And like when I'm going to bed at night, I'll put an audiobook on. I have Bruce Dickinson, lead singer of Iron Maiden, has a book out from a few years ago called What Does This Button Do? It's a fascinating autobiography of his life to this point. Fascinating guy. And I also got the audio book for it's a book, Moneyball. It was turned into a movie with Brad Pitt, but this is the original book from 2003. Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. By Michael Lewis. So, and the book, if you've seen the movie with Brad Pitt, the book is way more in depth, as you might predict. So, and I've already listened to it once, and I'm listening to it again. Twinkle says, I love the idea of an audio version of the blogs. Not my idea, Twinkle. My former editor's idea. I cannot thank her enough. I'm giving her credit. As soon as she said it on the phone on Monday, I was like, why didn't I think of that? So Linda says, I love true crime books. Ruth says, I was addicted to Anne Rule. Charlotte says, I am reading Gone at Midnight right now by Alyssa Lamb's story. Yeah. Anne Rule books are great. I love true crime books too. Hello, Jody. What's up? Ruth says there's something about her story, Charlotte. Alyssa Lamb. Yeah. Linda says, Charlotte, I have more books than I will ever be able to read, but it'll be fun trying. Screaming says, I want to read that book by Bruce. Screaming, it's fantastic. I would get the audio book. It's not cheap. But I have credits like with Audible, with my phone. I have like 12 credits. Don't ask me how I got them. And so I got it for free. And it's fantastic. And he reads it. Bruce Dickinson reading his own book. And he does the accents of different people that he met and everything. It's fantastic. You got to get it. It's fantastic. He's such an interesting guy. Just, you know, and it tells his life up to the point of like the Book of Souls. You know, he talks about him having cancer and all of that. You know, how he got into Iron Maiden, you know, when he left in 1992 or 93, all fantastic. Screaming. So I give it 2 thumbs up. Delane says Spotify has some books available too. That doesn't surprise me. Joyce, you're very, very generous. Thank you, Joyce. Thank you so much. And I'm going to keep being me, Joyce, and you can't stop me. So moving on to this. Speaking of audio versions, I'm also going to do an audio version of the newsletter. So I will write the newsletter. I will type it out. I will email it to everybody, but then I will record it just like I would do the blogs using the same program that I use for the Unfound episodes. And that will be posted to the website, theunfoundpodcast.com. And so you can be looking forward to that as well. So you get the newsletter. If you're on the email list, you will get the newsletter in email form. And then if you choose, you can just go to, and we may just insert the link in the newsletter. I'll talk to Natasha about that. It will be available through a link too if you just want to listen to it. So there you go. So once again, that was an idea that came from my book editor. I should just use her first name. Her name is Debbie. Linda says Bruce is Leo too. Is he? Bruce Dickinson? I think I knew that. I know that lead singer of Def Leppard, Joe Elliott, was born on August 1st. So that thrills me quite a bit. So thank you, Joyce. Once again, thank you. And Cherie is posting the website, theunfoundpodcast.com, one of the best true crime websites out there. Let's answer another Charlotte question. And thank you, Charlotte, for these 3 great questions tonight. Delane says, goodness, my headphones will never come off my head now. Linda says, he is August 7th. Bruce Dickinson, August 7th. Is that right? Well, that is the birthday of my best friend, Doug. The guy that I went to the Iron Maiden concert with a couple years ago. The guy that he and his son went with me and my dad to Canada fishing in 2019. My buddy Doug, he is born August 7th. And also who was born on August 7th is my ex-girlfriend, who's Suzanne, which is the woman who I was talking to a couple hours ago. So she is born August 7th. She is one of those women that I've dated, is also a Leo. Go figure. So August 7th, great day. Fantastic day. All right, Charlotte, next question. Since foul play could happen to a person in an instant, do you think that some of the cases of the missing could be deemed as a walkaway, but in actuality, they were taken by someone else and done in by them, and the body was hidden or destroyed? Charlotte, that has to be really looked at. It's certainly possible. I think you just have to look at it on a case-by-case basis. You really have to, this is why we spend so much time on the interviews getting to know the person. I mean, as you know, we may talk about the missing person for 45 minutes before we even talk about the day that person disappeared. Because I believe that understanding a disappearance, you really, really have to try to know that person as well as we can, even though none of us ever met that person. So I think that that really has to be figured into your calculations when you start talking about, well, it seems like the person might have walked off, but being that, abductions can happen so fast, it's totally true. And in fact, you can watch on YouTube. There will be security video or video of a convenience store, an ATM, outside a school, of many people, mostly women or children, getting abducted. And it happens like that. You're totally right. But I think we still have to look at the totality of the facts. You have to look at the person, what was going on in that person's life. Were they having problems with anybody? All of that still must be examined very, very closely before we start thinking that it was some sort of stranger abduction, because stranger abductions statistically are in the minority. Maybe not as in the minority as we've all believed, but they are certainly in the minority. So once again, since foul play could happen to a person in an instant, do you think that some of the cases of the missing could be deemed as a walkaway, but in actuality, they were taken by someone else and done in by them? Yes, I think. Do you think that's some? Sure. Some, I don't know how many. I don't know what the percentage would be of the remaining cases that are unsolved of unfounds, which is about 185. I don't know how many of those. I would really have to look at them and say, give a best guess. Might be able to look at a disappearance like Jason Jolkowski. Maybe it's the opposite. I think most people think he got abducted. Maybe he did walk away. Maybe it's the exact opposite situation. So, once again, I think you really have to take it on a case-by-case basis and look at everything before I could really decide it. But if you're asking me, there's a possibility that we think it was a walk away, but it was actually somebody was abducted. Yeah, that's possible. Sure. Just generally, sure, it's possible. Let's move on to this. Dr. Telesco won't be next Thursday, but the Thursday after that, the 27th at 7 p.m., she and I will be getting together again. School, it will be out by that time. I think you know that her 2 assistants, Josh and David, are moving on, graduated. So I'm not sure if there will be any assistants. Being that school is out, I don't know if anybody will be assisting her with the show or not, but she and I will surely be getting together on her YouTube channel. Of course, talk about it next week and the week after. But she has already picked out the disappearance that we are going to discuss. She picked it out a couple days ago. And she wanted one where it was fairly obvious that the person was murdered. So I sent her a list of those from Unfound's catalog, and she narrowed it down to 2. And then I said, yeah, well, I guess technically I picked it, but she narrowed it down to 2. And then I said, let's go with this one. So I'm not going to tell you which one it is yet, though, but it's one that goes back quite a ways. It is not one that we covered within the last couple years, but I will be excited to talk about it. I will have to listen to the episode again to refresh my memory of all the details and everything. But I look forward to talking to her about this disappearance in a couple weeks. Once again, May 27th at 7 p.m. Eastern. That will be on a Thursday. Joyce says, anything for Ed. Oh, Joyce. She goes, almost. You're funny, Joyce. D says, my little sis is also my little sister's birthday. Delane says, I wonder if stranger abductions are more likely with children than adults or vice versa. I'm sure no statistics have been done on that, Delane. I'm going to guess that children, I don't know. Just don't know, Delane. I think our perception would be that children are more likely to get abducted. We start thinking about Mikhail Biggs, for example, Brandy Myers, and we start thinking how they were abducted. There's no doubt about that. But it may be because children's disappearances get more attention than adults. And, adults even are more likely to, can at least put up a fight most of the time. So that makes an abduction a little more difficult. I don't know how I would necessarily break that down, Delane. I think that it seems to me that children would be more likely to be abducted, but that may not be factually true. You're welcome, Charlotte. Joyce says, I think more adults are stranger abductions. Okay, Joyce. Charlotte says, I wonder too, Delane. I know that many adults are kidnapped. That's true. Well, a lot of kids are kidnapped too, as well. Louise says she's born August 20th. I've just got thinking, my nephew, Charlie, is also a Leo. What is it, August 16th, August 17th? Somewhere in there. Asha Degree was probably kidnapped. Okay. So, Dr. Telesco will be talking about, this. We're going to be talking about a disappearance that, frankly, has not come up a lot lately. There hasn't been a lot of movement in this particular disappearance, so it will be good to talk about it, and it will be interesting if any of you can figure out which one we will be talking about. Like I said, it is one where it's pretty much obviously a murder, and it's an older one from the Unfound catalog. Linda says the NCMEC says that abductions by strangers are the rarest type of cases of missing children. Why? Yeah, surely. This is one of the reasons we don't cover missing children on the program, because most often they are murdered by their parents. Most children are. Yeah. We just don't know, we don't know how many abductions happen, and would need to know, would need to look at the pie chart to really be able to tell this. Mentioned for her, Chris Canipe mentioned her disappearance. Yeah, he did. That's in the same area. Right. Okay. Let's move on to this. Now, this is interesting, being that Charlotte asked me this question, the first question about people in their cars and lakes. We now know that Erica Hernandez, who disappeared a couple months ago from Pearland, Texas, she was found deceased in her car in a body of water yesterday. And it is eerie how similar it seems, how she went into her body of water the same way that Esther Westenbarger went into her body of water. If you are to look up, and maybe some of you did, maybe some of you already know about Erica's disappearance, that she went into a body of water at an intersection that was a T, meaning it looked like this. And the body of water was over here. So it seems, she was coming this direction. For some reason, did not stop, went right through the intersection, into the grass, into the pond, and unfortunately drowned in her car. This is one of those situations, again, where I don't know if they'll be able to ever prove why that happened. Did the brakes go out in her car? Did she fall asleep at the wheel? Was she messing around with her phone and not paying attention? Did she have a heart attack? Was she drinking and driving? Was she on something? Did she have a seizure? I don't know if they'll be able to tell any of that. But it's the same kind of thing that happened with Esther Westenbarger. Now, hers, I think that a lot of people are going to believe she was drinking and driving. She was coming from a bar, and she was, I would say, but having never been there, I would say she was not on the right road to her place. But, people in the area may say that she was going on the right road, but it was the same situation as her. She was coming this way to a T intersection. There's a body of water over here. She went right through the intersection, right into the water. And I think the what played a major role in Esther Westenbarger not being found for so long is I don't think anybody looked at that retention pond and said a car could be in there. But there was. I think we underestimated how deep it was and whether it could hold a car or not. Whereas with Erica's, she went into a fairly large pond, way, way bigger than the one that Esther ended up in. So very sad. Very sad. And as I stated earlier, when Charlotte asked that question, it seems to me we're getting a little bit of a better handle on these types of disappearances. Of course, the question will always be, well, if we believe that this person went into a body of water, which body of water is it? And it's easy, it's easier to figure out if you know where a person was starting and where that person was going. If a person was just driving around, or it was a very long distance driving for hours and hours and hours, then that's going to be a lot more difficult. But I think we're also finding out is people, if the person is in his or her car when they go into a body of water, it's amazing how many people don't know what to do. You have to remember that should that ever happen to you, that the first instinct that people have when their car goes into a body of water is to try to open their door. Well, as long as the car is insulated, meaning there's air in the car but there's water out there, you're not going to be able to open the door because you're trying to push against the water. There's an unequal amount of pressure. The water is pushing in on the car. It's like trying to if you were trying to open a door in a submarine, you can't push it out because there's the water pushing against it. So you have to wait, and this is very counterintuitive. You have to wait until the water pretty much fills up in the car before you can open the door. Now, hopefully, you can have it unlocked. Luckily, these days, even with automatic locks, electric locks, usually if you pull on the handle for the door will unlock automatically. So you don't have to worry about hitting a button to unlock it and then open it. But you have to let the water basically fill up in the car and equalize the pressure between the water on the inside and the water on the outside before you open the door. because if you panic and you try to do it as soon as you hit the water, you start panicking, you start pushing, and then you really start panicking when the water is going up. And that's usually how people die. It's very counterintuitive on how to get out of a car once it goes into water. And she also noticed, I know I've even seen this demonstrated on YouTube, that many cars, you can use your headrest. If you know how to take the headrest out of your driver's seat, these usually come out. There's a little button to take them out. You can use the pointed end of them to break the window out. But even with that, you have to wait until the water is on the inside of the car as well. It's all about pressurization. It's all about equalizing the pressure between the inside of the car and the outside of the car. And as long as the inside of the car is filled with air, you're never going to be able to open that door up. Talking about Ashley Degree, I don't want to believe that her father could have done something to her. Ruth, I never realized so many people were found in water in their cars until I started following Adventures with a Purpose. Yep, that's true. Yep. Sure. Cherie says, apparently her OnStar quit working at the same time her phone lost service. I never saw that reported, but that certainly is a huge clue. Listen to people. So many people found in water lately. Yep. A lot of people, I'm inclined to believe it has a lot to do with more and more people looking at their phones while they're driving. I mean, I know a lot of these are good old-fashioned drinking and driving, but there have to be a decent percentage of these, because we all know about those very tragic cases. Somebody's looking down their phone, goes through a stop sign, there's a wreck. Well, these are just a different, these are just a variation of that. People not paying attention and the car going somewhere that it shouldn't be going. I think that is something else that's going on. Ruth says, I have a tool that cuts seatbelts and breaks windows. Can't remember what it's called. Well, make sure you know how to use that, Ruth. Ruth, center punch, I think it's called. Most people panic in a sinking car and drown. Yeah, that's right. Eileen, maybe we're underestimating the teeny lake that they're draining for evidence regarding Troy Galloway. Well, Eileen, maybe, but that's a little bit of a different situation because Troy did not vanish with his car. The reason that these people are not found in their cars is because cars sink. And what's keeping the body from floating up to the surface is it's inside the car, and it's probably in its seatbelt. So, if Troy Galloway is found in that lake inside a car, then there really was something weird that went on that night, because nobody's ever told me that he would have been in a car. So, if he's in that teeny lake and they find it by draining it, then I have to believe that he somehow, for some reason, his body didn't come to the surface, which means, did it get caught in a log, or did somebody attach a cinder block to it? I guess we're eventually going to know. I don't know when that is, though. Cherie, they sell kits that are relatively inexpensive. They have a combined window breaker, seatbelt cutter, taser, and pepper spray. Yeah. Louise says there's so many cases where the husband kills the wife, then goes on the TV crying, begging her to come home, etc. And he's done it. Also, kids going missing. It's the stepfather or another friend. It's certainly common here in the United States, Louise. Certainly. A lot of men, a lot of crocodile tears, or whatever they're called, fake tears for this. Velveta says, I almost slid on ice into the Ohio River. The river was very deep and it was extremely cold. I doubt I would have survived. Driving by that section creeps me out even now. I bet, and that's another part of this, that certainly cold water plays a part, at least a little bit, because the shock if you are in a cold climate and that cold water, it's just not enough that the water's rising and rising, but that will certainly make your body, freeze, but figuratively freeze, not literally freeze. It'll eventually make your body literally freeze, but it's that shock of the cold water that certainly could play a huge role whether you get out or not. Charlotte Miller Crocodile Tales. Look at Barry Morphew, Chris Watts. Yep. Thanks for the auto correcting my spelling errors, Ed. Okay. Eileen says, I don't think he's in the lake. Was more thinking that people overlooked the lake being a dumping place for evidence because it seems small and not deep. Eileen, maybe. Well, all I can tell you, Eileen, is if they do find some evidence in the lake, then it's surely, I guess they're thinking that Troy was murdered. I guess. I don't know what else they would be looking for. If they're just looking for evidence and they don't think he's in there, then I have to start wondering what they think that they're going to find in there. I don't know. Shuri, recently a missing woman was found after jumping into cold water for therapy. Yeah, that's... these people that are doing that, I know we kind of covered that, there's a possibility with Ben Archer's disappearance, but I got to admit that just sounds like hocus pocus to me. Therapy, jumping into cold water. No, that doesn't sound like a fix to me. That sounds like fake stuff, fake medicine to me. I don't know. Yeah. Delane says cold water is not any therapy I want. I only drink cold water. I don't want to swim in it. I don't want to take a shower in it. Karen says Unfound was mentioned on Trace Evidence. I was told that, Karen. I forget for what reason. It had something to do with I think they covered a disappearance that we covered at some point. Somebody did tell me that, but I forget what disappearance it was, Karen. Sheree says it sounds fake to me too. I run from cold, but it's pretty new age school of thought. Yeah, it is. Okay. Let's move on to this. So speaking of Barry Morphew and men crying crocodile tears, I do have an article that I saw that I had posted in the group maybe 4 days ago. And it was called Men Who Kill Their Wives. And the article talks about how many of these men who end up killing their wives, many of them are having extramarital affairs. And I don't know if that's, once again, I am not an expert in Suzanne Morphew's, what we now, of course, know to be a murder. I don't know if Barry Morphew was cheating on her. Maybe he was. But the article talks about how a lot of these guys have extramarital affairs, and that's true. I guess from Unfound's catalog, you might think about a disappearance like Marion Hurley that we covered, towards the end of last year. But on the other hand, I think that we've covered some, maybe Rosemary Rapp's kind of like that too, maybe. But we've covered quite a few where there were no allegations that the husband was cheating on the wife or the boyfriend was cheating on the girlfriend at all. Angela Green, I think everybody believes her husband did something to her. There's no allegations he was cheating on her. Danielle Sleeper, Christy Nichols, they were just in relationships with bad guys. These men, once again, to our knowledge, what we know about these disappearances and these people, there's no allegations that these guys were cheating on them. Even with Linda K. Carroll, who was most likely murdered by her estranged husband, He wasn't cheating on her. He killed her because she was going to start her own life. And to me, that is much more of a bigger deal than whether his guy's having an extramarital affair or not. The truth is there's a lot of cheating going on out there in the world. And a lots. And people who are doing these things don't die. 99.9% of them are not murdered. They may get caught, but they're not murdered. Even the cheating spouse continues to live on. People patch relationships up, or they get divorced, or something happens. So I get what the article was trying to say. The truth is, though, is that to me, what I see, and this is why I would like to get that to the position where, I'd be more, going on these types of programs and the shows that have millions and millions and millions of viewers and readers and everything else, that to say the number one reason that men kill their spouses, their girlfriends, their lovers and everything else is due to control. It's because these guys are bad guys. That's why. Now, granted, you may say, well, a guy cheats on his wife is a bad guy. That's true. And I would never want any guy to do that to the woman, or if they're gay, fine by me, the man is like, I want that. I don't want anybody to do that. But at its core, these men are just evil. I don't know if men who cheat on their spouses, their significant others, are necessarily evil. They're bad people. They're weak. Etc. But I don't know how evil they are. Whereas it occurs to me that these men that we've covered who have seemingly, almost obviously, killed the women in their lives, they were just bad, horrible, evil men. And they didn't need to have an extramarital affair or anything to motivate them to do so. And they didn't murder these women because the women were cheating on them. They just murdered them because they felt like it. So that's what I, would say about this article. I think the article gets it partly right, but I'm not inclined to believe that all womanizers end up killing their women. I think it's something else. I think that it has more to do with who the person is, not exactly what they're doing. Louise says regarding cold therapy, I've heard it's supposed to help with depression and anxiety. Jump in freezing water, get your heart pumping and adrenaline pumping. I don't know. Cherie says in some of those are marriages over 10 years, over 20. Yeah. Cherie, I've never been married or anything, so it's easy for me to talk, but I think it's just a factor of resentment. Things build up over the years. And in fact, I think I made that argument. I think I made that point with Angela Greens, that it wasn't necessarily what was going on right at that second with Angela, her husband, and the daughter getting kicked out of the house. I got the feeling that this was something that building, and then it's like a volcano. It just erupts. And you have to remember, volcanoes don't just erupt. It's building and building of lava and lava, building, pressure building, all at once. Boom. Louise, I don't know how the spouse can look the family in the eye knowing that they murdered their wife or husband, then go look for them and go on TV asking for help to finding them. Well, they're just thinking about themselves. They're trying to stay out of jail. They're trying to stay out of the gas chamber. That's why they're doing that, Louise. When you think like that, it's pretty easy to do. Jane Bashara was one of those cases where her husband wanted her dead because of his girlfriend. Well, like I said, Charlotte, happens, but I'm not sure that's the number one reason that men end up killing women, because the man's cheating and he wants to do so. I think, like I said, that probably was the best reason that we can come up with Marion Hurley's. But I think a lot of these others where we believe the husband killed the wife, the boyfriend killed the girlfriend, it's just because the guy's mean. He's just evil. He's a killer. Shri, Suzanne texted her sister on Friday saying she was afraid of Barry. I think she was killed on Saturday, reported missing on Sunday. Larry had been controlling Maya for years. She went to divorce. Okay. Yeah. Life insurance seems to be a motive for some spouse killings. That's true, Delane, but once again, you have to prove that the spouse is deceased. And life insurance companies just don't give out their money willingly. And so that is a flaw when it comes to, these types of plans. Life insurance, they're going to look into this and say, well, okay, this woman's missing. And that's why there is a stipulation. A lot of times, of course, people who go missing, even if we believe it's murder, they're not declared dead, maybe, for at least 7 years. Hello, Pamela. Sounds interesting. Yeah, we're having a nice discussion tonight, Pamela. We're trying to. I'm trying to lead a good discussion tonight, doing my best. Sheree says Larry is next, allegedly, in my opinion. Speculation only. You see this number of firearms Larry had? Yes, you said that. I agree with you. Get those kids away from him already. Yeah, we might have a Josh Powell situation. Louise says, Charlotte, it seems common either because they have another woman for the insurance money because the spouse is going to leave, then jealousy, control, mental issues. Hello, Debbie. Okay, talking about Maya Maletti. Yes, I think people carry around a lot of resentments towards their partner over the years, and then that one thing happens. Yep. Hello, Pamela. Yeah. Hello, Pamela. Louise says, I read that Barry had brainwashed his daughters, that they were shouting to him that they loved him and did not believe he had killed their mother. I haven't heard anything about that, Louise. You may be very right, but I have to admit I've not been following it too closely since he was taken into custody last week. One more thing. Let me answer this final question from Charlotte. We got about 20 minutes left. Do you think that some of the people who are missing could have been kidnapped and are being held against their will, or that they were being held and then were murdered? I was thinking of all the young women and even older women who are missing who could have had this happened to. There have been cases of people being kidnapped and later they escape. Yeah. Well, I think the best known one was that Castro guy in Cleveland. He had those 3 women that he had locked up for many years. A lot of people know about that. And then one of those women was able to escape. Unfortunately, Charlotte, if you want, me, I'm always going to tell you the truth. Probably it's going on a couple places in the United States right now. We have a country of 330 million people. The odds are that's going on at least a couple places right now where women or children, maybe some men too, I don't know, are being held against their will somewhere. Yes. And I'm not talking about people from other countries. I'm talking about American citizens who were born here, raised here, went to school here, went to college here, and everything else. There's no doubt that that's probably going on. And in fact, we have a disappearance that's kind of like that, Charlotte. It's Laura Bible and Ashley Freeman. We didn't know that for a long time. In fact, we didn't even know that when we covered their disappearances in fall of 2017. But the story is that the Freemans got shot. These guys took those 2 girls and locked them up somewhere and raped them and everything else for weeks, then murdered them. Yes, it happens, and it's probably happening right now. But statistically, I would say that certainly is going on. Now, if I were to look at all of the disappearances that happened over the last 6 months, would I be able to pick out the ones that I think it's most likely? Probably not. That's something that's hard to predict. But it certainly is going on, has gone on, is going on, and will continue to go on. Cherise says the daughters are victims too. Delane says, walk away, not worth a life in prison. Yeah, you're right about that, Delane, but I think at some point for these guys, it gets to be an ego thing. I think it becomes a sexist thing. I'm not going to let that woman get the best of me. Pretty sure. That's the way these guys are. Cherie says the guilty parent is the only parent, and they usually don't know all the facts until the trial, so it's understandable. BA, also a girl at Lake Tahoe, had kids non-voluntarily from Sicko underground for years. Yeah. Yeah, give this video, Linda, once again reminding everybody, give the video a thumbs up as you are watching tonight. We only have a few minutes left. Debbie says, looking good, Ed. Love your hair. Well, thanks. It just keeps growing. It won't listen to me. I tell it to stop growing, Debbie, and it just won't listen. It has a mind of its own. Arrest made in Layla Cavett disappearance. Yeah. Okay. So, Charlotte, that is my answer to that. I think somehow we as all of us living out here, living our lives, having a great time. It's certainly true that somewhere someone is being held against his or her will. Somewhere. More and a lot more than one. One more thing, just in bringing this up because it's going to be mentioned this Friday, and of course we're going to talk about the disappearance for this Friday in a moment. But it just came up in the interview that I did for Friday's episode. Do you remember this the disappearance and murder of Annie Lee, L.E., from Yale? She was a student at Yale, and she went into this building. She was worked in this lab. And she disappeared, and they had video cameras, and it showed that she never came out of this building, and they searched the building, and finally they did find her body stuffed somewhere. And another student who also worked in this lab, his name was Raymond Clark, was charged and convicted. Or I think he pled guilty eventually. I don't think it went to trial. But he pled guilty to murdering Annie. And I just wanted to point this out to all of you because it's going to be mentioned in this Friday's interview. And neither myself or the guest, Kelly, could think of her name, but we both knew about this particular murder. And the reason it even came up is because it's kind of... well, it might be something some people think about when they think about the disappearance that we'll be covering this Friday. So if you think you need to, maybe you might want to brush up on the murder of Annie Lee from Yale in September of 2009, just in case, because I don't want you to get to that part of the interview and myself and the guest are trying to remember this girl's name and we can't think of it, even though we both know what we're talking about. So you might want to look that up, and maybe some of you even remember that happening 12 years ago. Yeah, you got to give BA, you got to give the thumbs up. Yeah. Linda says, curious, can you see who leaves the thumbs up? I've never tried to, Linda. I don't know. I know you can do that on Facebook. I don't know if you can do that on YouTube or not. Velta says, I've always been surprised how impatient people are when they murder to collect on life insurance policy. It's open so soon after the policy is open, they try to fool insurance companies and cops. Yeah, and usually doesn't work. I think that's more of like a movie thing. Life insurance, people being murdered for life insurance is a great plot device. But I'm not saying, of course, people try to do that, but I think that it's hardly ever successful. Ruth says, yes, Raymond put Annie in a wall. That's true. Yes. Marge says, I appreciate the show and all of you do. I'm catching up on past shows. Thanks, Marge, for finding the program, and thanks for tuning in tonight. I appreciate it. Eileen says, Raymond Clark took an Alfred plea. He did. Yes. Annie Lay. Kathy, Annie Lay. Thank you, Kathy. I knew I got that wrong. Annie Lay, but it's spelled L-E. Ruth says she was buried on what was to be her wedding day. Yeah, it's just, yeah. I remember when it happened. I remember before he was even, it was still a mystery as to where, what I can remember watching that, following that back in 2009. Yeah. Kathy says, Louise, yeah, these guys can't take rejection. Yes. Okay. Well, let's get to it. This Friday, Unfound is covering the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. Now you maybe understand why Annie Lee's murder came up, because, of course, she went into a building and never came out, and it is believed that Brian Shaffer went into a bar and never came out. So I brought it up during the interview that I did with the guest. Her name is Kelly Bruce. She is a woman I've known for over 4 years. And in fact, she is the organizer of the Brian Shaffer Missing Persons Day. At least she was when she lived in Ohio. She does not live there anymore. And in fact, I think it was 2018, that she actually invited me to Ohio to speak at that day, and I couldn't make it. So we've known each other a while. And she is what I would consider to be the foremost expert on the disappearance of Brian. She has done a lot of great work in trying to figure out what happened to him. Was he murdered? Did he walk off? What could have happened? And so she is the guest, and we are covering Brian Shaffer's disappearance, one of the most well-known missing persons cases in the United States in the 21st century. He disappeared April 1st, 2006, Columbus, Ohio. I think many of you know that he went to this place called the Ugly Tuna Saloon. And there is video of him going into the place, but allegedly there's no video of him ever leaving. And that's generated a lot of rumors and theorizing. Did he get murdered? And, did something happen in the bar with one of the employees? On and on and on. And as you know, we don't theorize on the program. All we do is present the facts. And the name of this episode is 15 Years of Fame. That is the title, because we just passed the 15-year mark, the anniversary of his disappearance. And it's kind of a play on the Andy Warhol idea that in the future, I think it was him, that everybody, or was it George Orwell? Everybody in the future will have 15 minutes of fame. But this is being called 15 Years of Fame because Brian Shaffer's disappearance is very well known, and it's been 15 years. The interview, as you would expect, is about 3 hours long, and we cover a lot of stuff, and there will be at least the way I understand the disappearance, what I know about it, there are 2 new pieces of information that are discussed that I don't think have ever been discussed before anywhere in the interview. These are things that Kelly just discovered, I think, within the last year or so. Kelly does have her own program, own podcast. And in fact, she was interviewed earlier this year by CNN for a show they're going to be doing on Brian Shaffer's disappearance in September. We talk a little bit about that. However, due to the contract she signed, she is not allowed to talk about what she said, what they filmed. So we just talked about the process of her being interviewed. And I'm so happy that she was being recognized for her great work. There will be a YouTube video accompanying this. The Ugly Tuna Saloon, it still exists, but it's in a different location. So I will be showing you the old location, even though on the map it'll be labeled as something different. And I will do my best to try to diagram it, even though I know things have changed there in the last 15 years. Kelly has given me a lot of pictures. As you know, I've already posted some things in the group, on Instagram, on Twitter, on the page. And more of that stuff is to come tomorrow. On our website, there's going to be a ton of pictures and other things that I'm going to give to Natasha that she will be posting there. Interior pictures of the Ugly Tuna Saloon and a lot of different things. So that's this Friday. I edited the interview today, or I listened to it, I should say, and it came out great. I recorded most of my part. As you would probably expect, this is just like any other episode. The format is the same, although my summation in the end is a little longer than usual, but not absurdly longer. Maybe only a couple minutes longer than is usually the situation. You may be asking, well, why now, Ed? What was it? You've known about his disappearance, maybe even going back to 2006. Why now? And I just have to tell you that I think that you just want to make sure that, Brian Shaffer's disappearance is fairly complex. A lot of information. There was, even though there's even, Kelly's discovered even more information since Unfound got started. But even if this had been the first episode of Unfound, there was still a lot of information. And I don't know if I was in a position to be the best kind of interviewer to make sure that everything is covered in an orderly way. And not to mention that so many other programs have covered his disappearance that we certainly don't want to do a bad job on it. And of course, we want to be best. So I had to make sure that I was in the right place, that I thought I was prepared to look at all the information, talk to Kelly about it, make sure I'm able to put together a good interview outline, and make sure that I know the right questions to ask. And should things pop up during that interview, or am I ready to go off on this or that tangent? Because there's a lot of information and I want to make sure that everything is covered the right way and we don't miss anything. So I think a lot of it was just making sure I was ready to do it. Kelly was certainly ready to do it. So that's why. And it was a couple months ago. I know that, she kind of just popped on my radar because, she had posted, or maybe she just told me privately through Messenger, yeah, I got interviewed by CNN, or I'm going to get interviewed. And that's kind of what put it in my head. Well, maybe it's time. So we did the interview on May 2nd, and the episode will come out this Friday. It's an episode that's about 3.5 hours long, and we don't do any theorizing. We stick to the facts of going on in Brian's life before, the facts that went on that night, everything that has happened since. And so we don't do anything unusual. We didn't get freaky with it. We just cover his disappearance like any other. It doesn't matter if it's well known or not. Everybody gets the same treatment here. So that's this Friday. Let's see what some of you are saying here before I leave. Charlotte says, yes, it's very puzzling and interesting. BA says that's South Campus. It gets rough just 2 streets down all the way to downtown. Ruth says, I keep thinking how he could not be found. If he wasn't anywhere in the bar, it's an interesting case. BA says, I lived a couple streets over for 3 years of undergrad. Interesting. Lots of big dumpsters down all those alleys. 55,000 students. Yep, Ohio State University, one of the largest in the country. Yeah. Louise says, Ruth Simpson, I think he was killed and put in the bar's bin. The bins would be emptied. Like I said, we don't get into any theorizing. It's up to all of you to listen to what Kelly has to say to come to your own conclusion. Velveta says, looking forward to this one. I live in Columbus. Wow. I lived in the campus area where he disappeared. It was even worse and getting more dangerous than when he vanished. He went missing at a time when lots of guys his age went missing across the United States. Yeah, that's the whole Smiley killer thing, which I don't believe in. High Street has changed. The people involved won't talk about it. Yes, Clint, Meredith, Alexis. Luckily, though, Kelly is in touch with at least one investigator. And you will talk. She will mention how she's gotten to talk to Alexis's father. So she has had some access, but not a ton. And you're right. A lot of these people do not speak to any reporters anymore. Ruth says there's been some wild theories thrown around about his disappearance. Absolutely. And we don't get into those, Ruth. A lot of rumors about a lot of things. And we just stay away from all that. Luis says, I don't think the smiley face killer got him. I don't either, because I don't believe it exists. I think the mate he was with knows a lot more. I also think the death of his dad is suspicious as well. Okay. Also appeared to Pearl Jam fan, and Eddie Vedder still raises awareness. That was, of course, something. Yeah. BA says it's hard to appreciate unless you've gone down those alleys after 2 or 3 a.m. in that area. Okay. So that is this Friday, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. And I really appreciate Kelly Bruce coming on the program for this Friday. She did a great job, of course. So that's about it. Once again, please give this video a thumbs up. This live show. What we do? We talked about the women's event, disc golf event. I got my first Moderna vaccine shot. Showed you my guitar, playing a little piano, buying a car is kind of on the back burner. I'm down to about 180.4 pounds. I hope you all had a great Mother's Day. Talked about the Sandy Canipe poll, the book situation, bringing that to the front burner, I think. Talked about how all the blogs will now also be in audio form. The newsletter is going to be in audio form. Dr. Telesco in 2 weeks. Erica Hernandez driving into the water in Pearland, Texas. Article, Men Who Kill Their Wives. Annie Lay, how she was murdered at Yale. Took 3 great questions from Charlotte. Good job, Charlotte. Way to come up with some great questions. And finally, this Friday, the disappearance of Brian Shaffer. That's all I got. Thank you for watching. I so much enjoyed doing these live shows. I don't know why more true crime podcast hosts don't do them. I love doing this. I love talking to all of you. I love preparing the outline every day, to talk to all of you. It's great. That's all I got. Please have a safe week. And you will hear me again on Friday for the disappearance of Brian Shaffer, coming out at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Good night.